The Pathfinder Volume 45, Considerations for Developing Pediatric Drug Product, a CMC Perspective.
In this audiocast, we discuss how developing drugs for children is no child's play, the unique physiology of children, safety concerns, and a scarcity of clinical studies in this population presents significant challenges in pediatric drug development. A crucial aspect of this process is understanding and addressing regulatory CMC considerations. From dose form to packaging and labeling, each element plays a pivotal role in ensuring the safety and efficacy of pediatric drugs. In this captivating audiocast, we journeyed through these considerations, exploring real examples like Oseltamivir, Propofol, Tramadol, Risperidone, and Methylphenidate. Brace yourself as we delve into the realm where science, innovation, and the well-being of our little ones collide. By dissecting these factors, drug developers can pave the way for medications that are safe and effective and also child's play to administer.
Before we dive into the considerations for developing pediatric drugs from a regulatory CMC perspective, it's essential to understand what CMC means. CMC stands for Chemistry, Manufacturing, and Controls, which refers to developing a drug from the initial discovery stage to the final product ready for distribution. The CMC process encompasses everything from the formulation and manufacture of the drug to its packaging, labeling, and testing. Now that we understand CMC, let's consider the considerations for developing pediatric drugs. Pediatric drug development requires special consideration in CMC to ensure the safety and efficacy of the drug product for pediatric patients. Here are some key CMC considerations for pediatric drug development. The dose form of medication is an important consideration when developing pediatric drugs. Children may have difficulty swallowing pills or tablets, which can make it difficult for them to take the medication as prescribed. In addition, the dose form must be appropriate for the age and weight of the child to ensure that they are receiving the correct dose of the medication. Excipients are the inactive ingredients in a medication that are added to help stabilize the drug and improve its palatability. When developing pediatric drugs, it's important to carefully select excipients that are safe for use in children and that do not cause adverse effects. The dosage strength of a medication must be carefully considered when developing pediatric drugs. Children may require lower doses of medication than adults due to differences in metabolism and body weight. It's important to determine the appropriate dosage strength for each age group and to ensure that the medication is available in the appropriate strength. The formulation of medication is an important consideration when developing pediatric drugs. The medication must be formulated in a way that is easy for children to take and that ensures that they receive the correct dose of the medication. In addition, the formulation must be stable and effective, even when stored under varying conditions. The packaging and labeling of medication are critical considerations when developing pediatric drugs. The packaging must be child-resistant to prevent accidental ingestion, and the labeling must be clear and concise to ensure that caregivers understand how to administer the medication properly. Developing drugs for pediatric populations can be challenging from a regulatory CMC perspective due to differences in pediatric physiology, safety concerns, and the limited number of clinical studies conducted in this population. Here are some critical challenges for developing pediatric drugs and real examples of how these challenges have been addressed. Dose form and administration can be challenging when developing pediatric drugs, as children may have difficulty swallowing pills or tablets. Liquid formulations may be more appropriate, but the excipients that formulate these liquids must be carefully selected to ensure safety in pediatric populations. One example of addressing this challenge was developing the drug Oseltamivir for treating influenza in children. The drug was initially approved in capsule form, but a liquid formulation was later developed to address the difficulty of administration in young children. Excipients are the inactive ingredients in a medication that help stabilize the drug and improve its palatability. However, some excipients may be unsafe for children due to potential toxicity or other safety concerns. One example of addressing this challenge was the development of the drug Propofol for use in pediatric patients. The initial formulation contained a solvent called polyethylene glycol, which caused toxicity in some children. A new formulation was developed that did not contain this solvent, which improved the safety of the medication in pediatric patients. Dosage strength is an important consideration when developing pediatric drugs, as children may require lower doses of medication than adults due to differences in metabolism and body weight. Dosage strength must be carefully determined to ensure that the medication is both safe and effective. One example of addressing this challenge was developing the drug Tramadol for use in pediatric patients. The initial formulation was not suitable for pediatric use, as it contained a high dosage strength. A new formulation was developed with a lower dosage strength appropriate for pediatric use. The formulation is another challenge when developing pediatric drugs. The medication must be formulated in a way that is easy for children to take and that ensures that they receive the correct dose of the medication. The formulation must also be stable and effective under varying conditions. One example of addressing this challenge was developing the drug Risperidone for use in pediatric patients. The drug was initially approved in tablet form, but a new formulation was developed as a dissolvable tablet that could be easily administered to children who had difficulty swallowing pills. Packaging and labeling are critical considerations when developing pediatric drugs. The packaging must be child-resistant to prevent accidental ingestion, and the labeling must be clear and concise to ensure that caregivers understand how to administer the medication properly. One example of addressing this challenge was the development of the drug Methylphenidate for use in pediatric patients with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The drug was initially approved in capsule form. Still, a new formulation was developed as an extended-release tablet with a unique delivery system that made it more difficult for children to tamper with the medication. Developing drugs for pediatric patients poses unique challenges for CMC and formulation due to several reasons. Physiological differences. Children's physiology differs from adults in organ size, metabolism, and drug absorption. Children have a faster metabolism rate than adults, which can lead to faster clearance of drugs from their bodies, requiring dosage adjustments. These differences require careful consideration when developing pediatric drugs, including dose form, administration, and dosage strength. Safety considerations. Children's safety is of utmost importance when developing drugs, and certain excipients and formulations may not be safe or appropriate for use in pediatric patients. For example, some excipients used in adult drugs may not be well tolerated by children, and specific formulations may be difficult to swallow or administer. Limited clinical studies. Clinical trials in children can be challenging and require additional ethical considerations, resulting in limited data available for drug development. This limited data may require developers to extrapolate adult data and scale down the dosage for use in children, leading to the potential formulation and CMC challenges. Regulatory requirements. The regulatory requirements for pediatric drugs are strict and require more extensive CMC and formulation considerations. The FDA's Pediatric Research Equity Act mandates that certain drugs must be studied in children to support pediatric use. These studies require careful consideration of CMC and formulation to ensure the safety and efficacy of the drug in pediatric populations. Compliance issues. Children may have difficulty complying with medication regimens, leading to inconsistent dosing or missed doses. Therefore, formulations must be designed to ensure the medication is easy to administer, palatable, and stable under various conditions. Overall, the unique physiological differences, safety considerations, limited clinical studies, regulatory requirements, and compliance issues make developing pediatric drugs more challenging, requiring careful consideration of CMC and formulation. Despite these challenges, developing drugs for pediatric populations is essential to ensure they can access safe and effective treatments. When considering developing pediatric drugs from a regulatory CMC perspective, some of the most common questions that may come up include: what is the appropriate dosage strength and form for the pediatric population? Are there any excipients or other components that should be avoided or used at lower concentrations due to potential toxicity or other safety concerns in pediatric patients? What is the impact of differences in age, weight, and physiological development on the pharmacokinetics of the drug, and how should this be considered in the drug development process? How should data from adult studies be extrapolated to support pediatric drug development, and what additional data is required for the pediatric population? What is the impact of different administration routes, such as oral, injectable, or topical, on the safety and efficacy of the drug in pediatric patients? How should stability and compatibility be evaluated for pediatric dosage forms, considering the different storage and handling conditions encountered in pediatric settings? What are the appropriate analytical methods to assess drug quality and stability in pediatric formulations, and how should these be validated? What are pediatric drugs' appropriate packaging and labeling requirements to ensure safe and effective use? Addressing these questions requires careful consideration of the unique needs and characteristics of the pediatric population, as well as compliance with regulatory guidelines and requirements for pediatric drug development. Developing drugs for children presents some unique challenges that must be carefully considered to ensure the medication is safe and effective. From a regulatory CMC perspective, considerations such as dose form, excipients, dosage strength, formulation, and packaging and labeling are critical to developing pediatric drugs. By carefully considering these factors, developers can create medications that are safe, effective, and easy for children to take. Real-world examples demonstrate how these challenges have been addressed, highlighting the importance of careful consideration in developing pediatric drugs. Overall, continued research and development in this area are critical for improving the health outcomes of pediatric populations and ensuring the safety and efficacy of medications for children. Developing drugs for children presents unique challenges and considerations that must be considered to ensure the medication's safety and efficacy. From a regulatory CMC perspective, several key factors must be considered when developing pediatric drugs. In this blog post, we'll explore these factors and why they are so important.
Thank you for listening to this audiocast. Are you an emerging biotech or established pharmaceutical company struggling to keep up with the ever-changing landscape of drug regulations? Look no further than Efficacy. We are the leading consulting group helping organizations comply with drug regulations through a comprehensive drug development model incorporating augmented intelligence and data analytics. Our industry experts can guide you through the complex world of compliance, making it more manageable than ever. With our Reimagining Regulatory Pathways services, we can help you design and implement best practices to streamline your operations and ensure you stay in line with current legislation. Our range of services covers regulatory drug development's technical and strategic aspects. Let us help you develop an overall strategy that accounts for all potential risks while still being able to meet your objectives. Visit our website at www.enkrisi.com to learn more and get started on the path to regulatory compliance success.